Hey guys, it's me, Nana. And if you're wondering what this is on my face, you're soon going to find out, because we're going to read the story about Moostache. And this is my Moostache. By Margie Palatini and illustrated by Henry Coe. Look at his Moostache. This is my Moostache. I'd use your papa, but he's snoring, so we can't. My hair getting in the way of my Moostache. Okay, just pretend I'm not a bear. I'm my Moostache on my head. Okay, here we go, Moostache boy. Let me get the pages turning here. Oh boy, he's got a big Moostache. Okay, Mr. Moostache. Moose's Moostache is a big prickly mess. Let's find out about it. Moose had a problem. A horrible, hairy, prickly problem. It grew right below his nostrils and just above his upper lip. A Moostache. And that is one massive Moostache. No, now not a few spare hairs or shy little stubble. No mere weak wandering whiskers on the upper lip of this moose. No sirree. Moose had a big, bushy, bristly, mighty Moostache. But a Moostache that was a burly, surly, mangy mess, and it itched a lot. Sure, he plucked and he tweezed. He even clipped, snipped, and teased. But his combs were still cowards, and his brushes rebelled. His scissors simply surrendered. Oh, they didn't know what to do with this. Oh. Moose was in a frizzy tizzy. The Moostache was completely crimping his style. He was a great hoofer, but he could barely bop and hip-hop with a Moostache going flip-flop. He seems to have a problem with this Moostache. He was a wonderful chef, but he simply could not flambe his souffle with all those whiskers in his way. And he was a daring skier, but how could he downhill race with the mighty Moostache blowing in his face? Moose had to do something, and soon. But what? What can Moose do? After days and days of much serious thought, Moose got an idea. He crossed some hair here, and he crossed some hair there, and he tied his Moostache around his neck. A moose scarf seemed to be the ideal answer to his problem. It was so simple, so easy, so perfectly perfect. You might need one today. But then, his Moostache got knotted and mangled and a horrible tangled. And those hundreds of hairs still prickled and tickled. Worse, Moose could barely take a breath with all that Moostache wrapped around his neck. So Moose untied, unwrapped, unknotted, and gulped in some fresh air. He got another idea. He parted some hair this way. He parted some hair that way. And he heaped all that Moostache on top of his head. Moustachioed antlers seemed to be the ideal answer to his problem. It was so simple, so easy, so perfectly perfect. Until a squandrum of squirrels and one very nosy gopher moved right into the Moose Motel. They huddled and hoarded and burrowed in and burrowed out. Needless to say, it became quite crowded up there on Moose's head, and heavy and messy. How would you like all that moving in on your head? Oh, poor Moose. And very, very noisy. The squirrely chitting and chatting, squeals and squawks woke Moose every morning before the crack of dawn, and that gopher was giving the Moose one hairy headache. Moose needed his sleep. He needed his rest. He needed his privacy. Moustachioed antlers, nuts, said Moose. So he unparted, unpiled, untwisted, untwined, and said adios to the hairy horns. Goodbye, hairy horns. But now what? What? The miserable Moose took hold of a hunk of hair, and he wrestled it, then roped it, and tethered, tied, tamed. Aha! A moose tail. Now that was so simple. That was so easy. That was not so perfectly perfect. Talk about a dizzy do. Moose didn't know if he was coming or going. Backward, forward, this way, that. He didn't know which end was which. Moose had to bail on the tail. What do you think he should do to solve this problem? And so he thought and thought and thought some more, but no other idea was a worthy winner. Braids were a bother. A moustache sweater? Too sweltering. Net not. Poor Moose, his problem was truly terrible, unbearable, just downright sad. He felt so alone, he didn't know what else to do. Know what to do. Then, call it fate, call it destiny. It was probably dumb luck. But one day, Moose tripped on his moustache and just had no time to duck. Oomph! Pardon me, they both said as they bumped. Then they blinked, and they stared, and their hearts went thump-a-thump. She was a moose, with a bouffant, so bodacious, outrageous, well, it was just plain old big. Hair after hair piled higher than high, a skyscraping dew of glorious curls, a tower of swirling twists and twirls. She was simply splendid, stupendous, and absolutely superb. They had a whole bunch of hair. Of course, Moose had to ask how she did what she did to get such a do. Miss Moose winked and then whispered, "Just a little glue." So they each plunged a hoof into a fat pot of white gooey goop. And carefully, oh so carefully, they glopped and they plopped. They pasted and they pressed. They coaxed and they curled. Every truly unruly wayward whisker. Around and around they tweaked and twirled those horrible hairs, until Moose's one mangy mess was now a wondrous winding wave of marvelous moustache. Moose gazed in the mirror and smiled a broad, moosey smile. He was so happy, so glad, so giddy. With glee, he looked dashing and handsome. Moostache, is that really me? With not a care for one hair, the moose pair boogied and bopped. They skied downhill, even uphill, and their cooking was hot, hot, hot. Those mooses. So, of course, it wasn't long after that. Moose and his moustache and his beautiful bride fox-trotted and tangled and waltzed down the aisle. Good hair days, bad hair days, they vowed to love and to cherish, and with hearts heaped with love and pots filled with goop, they both sighed, "I do glue," and promised never to part. Oh. It was so simple, so easy, so perfectly perfect. And they had a baby, and it stuck. Well, that was the Moostache. What you think? I would have had him cut it, I think. Would have been my idea. Cut that thing off. Shave it off. But that's just my idea. So. Okay, guys. Take care of your moustaches and your dippity-doo. And I love you. I'll see you next time.